Welcome to the tour of the OPUS Projektor 2023. Another year, another new version, and we have some nice things for you. If you look at the screen, I have opened 3 projects, and you can already see a glimpse of one very nice feature. Each project that is opened has its own color indication, and when I start opening the pages from this project, you will see that depending on the project, the pages and also the scripts, of course, all have a color indication showing to which project they belong. There's also an overview here on the upper right corner where you can see all opened elements, which can get quite full if you have many projects open. And with one glimpse, you can see to which project a certain opened element belongs. Okay, but that's just one little thing. One of the biggest new features you can find right here, selecting the project name. There are the properties, not much for the project itself because it's in the project properties window. There are events, as you know, and all new, there are navigation events. Now, what is this? In short, almost everything regarding the general navigation in the project, the normal behavior of the P client was before hard-coded within the P client. And now most actions, most events are programmed in scripts. And what difference does that make? The difference is that you are now able to change the default behavior. As you can see, there are a lot of events, general events, a lot of touch events. What happens when I press the touch screen, when I let go? What happens when I move the finger on the touch screen? All these events are handled with these navigation scripts. If you are happy with the behavior as it is, no problem. You don't need to touch these and everything will work as always. To be honest, these scripts were already in place in the 2022 version. So if you use that version and you haven't found any problems, you won't have problems now because the scripts are still the same. The interesting part is if you do want to change the normal behavior. I have one example of that implemented in the Welcome project, and that is actually, I will start the simulation. That is actually something that was requested quite often by customers, and that is the behavior of these keys. Now we have 4 keys. We have the function key, the escape key, the stop key, and the home key. And the function key and the stop key were always free to use. Any action could be put on press, release, and so on. But the escape key and home key always had the same functionality. So if I go, say system and then Ethernet settings. With home, I go directly back to the home page. And with escape, I step backwards through the history of pages that I visited. I also step out of editable objects. Let's see, let's go here and here. Now this is editable with the encoder. I can scroll, and if I press escape, I will step out of the object. Also, most alarms can be closed using the escape key. So all this functionality was usually fixed and there was nothing to be done about it. Now it can be changed, and I did that on the keys page. I don't know if you visited this page before. You can test basically all the keys on your device. So I press the soft key, press lights up, I release it, release lights up, I long press, then long press gets marked, and I release after that, and then long release is marked. I can also double click, and then the double click sign lights. Same for function and stop key. That was also the case in earlier versions, but as you can see, the home key can now also be tested. Press release, long press, long release, double click, and same for the escape key. In the whole project, the home and escape key behave as usual, except for the keys page. Now let's go back to the projector. Clicking on the project name, these are the project-wide navigation scripts. So in the whole project, when I escape something, when I press a button, when I release a button, this is defined in these scripts. But I can go to any page and I have the same events. So you can modify the behavior of these keys, or not only the keys. This is also regarding rotating the encoder to select objects. Some customers had the request to skip an object when using the encoder to select editable objects. Some objects should be editable, but they should not be selectable by the encoder. This is now something that can be done. On the project are the events for the whole project, and for each page, if you want to specifically change the behavior on a certain page, you can change the scripts for the pages. As you can see, most events already have a default script. These scripts are inside the P-client. They cannot be edited. They will always be there. They will be like the fallback, the default. But if I scroll down, there's a new entry here in the project tree called navigation scripts. And here you have the same scripts like the default ones, only named user. So these are copies of these default scripts. So you see the normal behavior. And no matter if you go on the project or on a page, if I open one of these, it will have the default script selected, which cannot be edited. So this is like the fixed behavior as before. And if you uncheck that, then this script will be used. So by default, then the general user page init script that is already there will be used. If you want to change the behavior in your whole project, that's okay. You can use these scripts. If you only want to change them on a certain page, you should do what I did in the welcome project and make copies of these scripts and mark them somehow. So my page is called keys. So I made copies of the relevant scripts and put keys after that. How you mark that is up to you. The thing is, if I hadn't done that, for example, with a double press, I had used the user key double press script as it is. If I went to any other page and went to double click and uncheck that, it would use the same script. So I would have to be very careful not to bring a functionality to a different page that I don't want there. So if you want to do different behavior of the navigation on different pages, you have to make like page copies of these files. For the files themselves, let's use the release as an example. Now I have to say, I don't fully understand what's going on in these scripts. My guess is for most of you, this will be the same. So the most important point here is be very careful and respect what's in here. So don't just delete this and start programming whatever you think you want to do. Look at what's happening and make careful modifications. So in my case, what I did, there's a switch case here depending on what key has been pressed. And all I did was comment the section for the escape key and the home key. So the default behavior of home key and the default behavior of the escape key, which is a bit more complex because, as I explained, it has different functionalities, is disabled in this case. Everything else I left the same. If you are not careful, you will break the normal navigation. So please be careful here and make a lot of testings when you change something, so your normal navigation behavior still works. If you have questions regarding these scripts, feel free to ask, and up to a certain level we are happy to help, but this goes quite deep. As I said, I don't fully understand everything that's going on here as well, and you should only go very deep here if you have a very deep understanding of what's going on. If you don't, be like me. Just carefully modify some behavior so it fits what you want to do, and that's it. Also, very important, the navigation scripts and the normal JavaScripts run on separate JavaScript virtual machines. So you cannot find any variables here that you have created in your other JavaScripts. And you do not have access to all the P-client variables as well. These scripts are strictly for navigation. All right, that's it for navigation scripts. The next topic is quite a short one, but still very useful. Let's go to the project properties, and there is a new entry called Watchdog settings. Now, if you don't know what a watchdog is a little program that runs next to your normal application, in this case the P-client, and I think every second, I'm not exactly sure, but every so many milliseconds, let's say it like that, the P client will pet the dog. Okay? So the dog will stay quiet. And the interesting moment is if for some reason the P client crashes or hangs, like in a script, for example, in an endless loop or something like that. Then the P client cannot pet the dog anymore. And what happens when you don't pet the dog anymore? The dog barks. You can set a timeout after which the dog should bark. And here you can select what happens when the dog barks. So there are two options. First one is the P client is restarted. The second one is the whole device is restarted. So basically a reboot. And this can be very valuable. I mean, normally, we strive to not have any crashes or exceptions or never have the P client hang. But software as software, you never know what happens, and it's always possible that this can happen. And it's very easy to do so within a script as well. So a simple while one loop in your script will block the P client forever. And then instead of just having the P client screen frozen and the user doesn't know what to do, you have now this timeout and you can decide it should restart the whole device or it should restart the P client. Also here, do your testing. Sometimes you have scripts that take longer than you think because you don't really realize it or you don't feel it when using the device. But make sure that this timeout is long enough so it doesn't happen during normal operation. I can tell you with the Welcome project, there is a page where all sorts of device information files are created on the USB stick. And for some reason, there is one function that gives a lot of information and writes it into a file, but it takes a long time. It only spits out one information line per second. It's a small bug in the operating system of one of the devices. And I was testing that functionality and suddenly the P client restarted. And I was thinking, okay, which of my lines broke the P client? I was just retrieving information, but it didn't have anything to do with that. It was just the Watchdog barking. Be careful with this, set this to a high enough time so that normal operation isn't compromised. The last big feature for this year that I want to show you, maybe you've already spotted it, I want to show you with a demo project. Let me start it. Starting from this version, we have the possibility to include an ISOBUS virtual terminal or universal terminal directly in your P client projects. Our ISOVT veterans will surely remember that we had ISOVT on the A3, A6 devices back in the day. And there it was that you had basically a full screen P client and you could press this key. And if an ISOBUS pool was loaded, then it would switch the window to that full screen ISOBUS screen. Now things are a little bit more advanced and we have bigger devices. So this is a demo project. Something like that will also be part of the sample project collection in the projector. So you should be able to check that out once you have the projector available. So you have a normal P client project here. And these three, let's call them frames, are UT views. There is one primary view and a number of secondary views if you have more than one UT pool in your vehicle, in your system. The primary view will show the first UT pool and the others will be shown on the secondary views. And with a simple swipe from the touch, this is not something that I can show now in the simulation, and I don't really have pools here anyway, but you have to imagine that when I swipe from one of the secondaries to the primaries, that the view will be switched. So the yellowish view would be on the primary and the red one would be here. And vice versa down here, when I swipe, the blue one will be shown here and the red one or the yellow one, if I switched before, will be shown here. The other pages, this is a full screen view of the primary UT with some more controls. And here we have different settings for units and language, settings regarding ISOBUS in general, and some statistics and information. We also have an ISB button. And here you can make screenshots for documentation or if something unexpected is shown on the screen. But as I said, this is just a demo project. So your UT plugin project does not have to and probably will not look like this. It can look however you like. You use your own design, your own images, your own corporate identity, and you can just have next to all your pages, you could have one page with a screen like this. You don't have to use these symbols. These are from our free symbol libraries. You can use anything that you want. Nothing here is forced on you. It is just a demonstration. I can show you the editor pages. So anything here can be changed. Now you will ask, will I be able to use this on any device I want? The answer is no. We will create new article numbers. I think they will have UTP in the article number, and only on these devices this will work. And how do you get it into your project? If you create a new project, let's use an empty one, you will see that you have a new entry here called project type. So default is your normal P-Client project. Horizon is the TopCon ISOBUS solution that runs on the UT, SM, and L devices, and ISO for the B3. ISO for the B3. UT, SM, and L devices, and ISO for the B3. And the new one is the UT plugin. So if you create such a project, it will have these views as special controls, and it will have all the variables to control everything regarding the universal terminal. So when you create a new project, you do it like that. What happens if you have an existing one and you just want to add this? Let's use our welcome project here, and you can just convert that. You keep the same device, but you switch to project type UT plugin. That will add these objects here and all the necessary variables, and you can include the UT view into your existing project. That concludes the tour of the Projektor 2023. There are many more improvements and features. Just very quickly, I don't know if you've seen it as when I showed you the navigation JavaScripts. There's a folder here called include. You can also now have folders in your normal JavaScript category. So you can sort your scripts however you want in folders. They can go as deep as the operating system, as Windows allows it. So you can make all sorts of arrangements here. Connections of your scripts to events will automatically be modified. Only if you are calling scripts from other scripts using the include file function, then you have to change the path manually. Normally you just have the script name. Now you have to add the relative folder starting from this general scripts folder. Another small improvement I want to mention, I don't know if you've seen this button. It's called commit. It has to do with the project versioning. I hope that many of you have used project versioning in the past, but I know that sometimes it can be a little bit annoying whenever you save the project, whenever you start the simulation, whenever you download the project, the commit dialog pops up even if you just changed one little thing. Now you can change when that happens. We go to Tools Options and then Versioning, and here you have granular options how you want this to behave. Auto commit on save is the default behavior, and here you can select should it commit on save, should it commit when downloading project, should it commit when starting the simulation. If you want full manual control, you uncheck these and then you have to commit manually. My suggestion would be automatically commit when you download to the device, because then you have a state that maybe goes to the customer. But do it as you want, but please use it. It has probably saved a couple of days of work for customers. We are improving the projector every day. And thank you, by the way, if you have ever reported a bug. I don't know if you received a feedback for it, maybe for the simple ones not at all times, but in the reported issue tab you should always see the progress of your reported bugs. So thank you for that. Please keep on doing it, and please enter an email address. Some bugs have enough information that we know what happened and we know how we can fix it. Sometimes we don't know what happened and we cannot fix it. In that case, it is very valuable for us if we can ask you a few questions. So please always add an email address, even though we are able to contact you through the reported issue feature. So be on the lookout for a little icon here if we wrote you a question. Also, since I just saw it, last thing, export-import settings. For each major version, you have to use a new program. You can make online updates like from 2023.4.0 to 2023.4.1 and so on. But for a new major version, you cannot do that. But you can export all the settings that you made in this version and you can import it in the new version. So this can be very valuable if you want to keep your carefully made settings in a new version. Alright, but that's it now. Thank you for watching the tour. Leave your feedback, leave a comment on YouTube if you like. Contact our support if you have any questions, reports, feature requests, comments, whatever. Or, of course, use this dialogue here to give us your feedback. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.